One type of cool season vegetable that we're growing here at our studio garden this year is beets. And we've got a very unique variety planted here in one of our raised beds. It's known as bull's blood. And as you might guess, with a name like bull's blood, it's very red, or at least very dark purple. And if you take a look at some of the little seedlings coming up here, you can see that there's very little green in the plant. Almost the entire plant is this really dark color. So this plant is very ornamental as well as edible. The beet root that it produces is small and it's very sweet. Well, beets are one of the few vegetables that we can eat both the above ground parts, or the greens, and the below ground part, or the beet root. Beets are easy to grow, they're very nutritious, and they're quite tasty. Now, when it comes to the nutrition in beets, they contain a lot of vitamin C, a lot of iron, and potassium. And that beet juice, that really dark pigment that stains our hands, our clothes, or whatever it comes in contact with, is also very good for us in that it contains a couple of compounds, one called beta-cyanine and another called beta-ine. And these things can help our bodies fight heart disease, and they act as antioxidants to help prevent cancer. Beets, if you've ever grown them, and you've noticed that sometimes when you plant those seed in the ground and a few seedlings, several seedlings come up in the spot where you put one seed. Well, if you've ever wondered why that happens, that's because beets, or beet seed, is actually not a seed but a small fruit. You can see these beet seeds here, and they are quite large and kind of knobby. Well, those are little beet fruits, and it's kind of like a little cluster of seeds. So it's not uncommon that when we put those in the ground, we get several plants coming up in that spot. And if you look here at these little seedlings, you can see there are two coming up there. There are a few more coming up together over here, and in a few spots we have 3 or 4 plants coming up in that one spot. Well, at this stage, it's a good idea to come in and thin the beets when they're about 2 inches tall, or at least have 1 or 2 true leaves beyond the cotyledons here. And we'll just gently kind of tug the little seedling up out of the ground there. And if you're careful, you can actually take those that you thin and replant those to have some extra plants. Now, when we thin our beets, it's a good idea to leave about 3 to 4 inches between the plants. We've got some really good spacing between our plants right here. Now, if you're only going to eat the tops or the greens of your beets, you can leave them a little closer, only thin to where there's about 2 inches in between the plants. When growing beets, it's a good idea to make sure that they're growing very well. We want a lot of healthy growth, a lot of luxurious plant growth on our beets when those are being formed in the ground. That way the beets and the beet tops will taste better and they'll be better for us. Now, if, for example, we grew our beets in a very poor soil, we didn't water them very well, and they experienced drought, well, the beet tops would taste bitter, and the beet root would also be sort of fibrous or corky, and they just wouldn't be very, very desirable. So we want a lot of good succulent growth on our beets. And you know, I've been thinking, trying to come up with another vegetable that we can eat both the above ground and the below ground part, but I haven't really thought of anything yet. But I'm sure if I ponder it a little longer, something will turn up.